Gold, gold, gold. That's what we're celebrating here tonight. The pinnacle of journalism, the Gold Walkley. Our winner tonight will join a very exclusive club. Some of its members in the room are Kate McClymont, Anne Davies, Michael Batchelard, Sue Spencer, Caramel Johanna, Deb Masters, Prita Cronau, and Kerry O'Brien, just to name a few from our glittering Hall of Fame.
And now to present the ultimate prize, please welcome last year's Gold Walkley winner for his Teacher's Pet podcast, the only living two-time Gold Walkley winner, Hedley Thomas from the Australia. Hedley, over to you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Annika and John. I think it's pretty clear that we're enjoying the night. We want to congratulate every finalist, whether you're taking a trophy and bragging rights home tonight, or you're a runner-up with a thumping hangover just hours away. You've done so much of which you can be proud. Your efforts and your journalism have helped make Australia better. You are the very best journalists in the country this year. Please, let's all give another round of applause to show our appreciation and our respect for the nominees. I'm here to present the Gold Walkley to someone who has already won a silver. And having started in newspapers as a teenage copy boy 35 years ago, fetching lunches and making cups of coffee for some pretty demanding sub-editors, the closest I ever got to gold then was the name of the newspaper, the Gold Coast Bulletin. So being afforded this privilege tonight is also a small miracle. But I think many of us have pretty humble beginnings in our extraordinary craft, journalism. Our mentors and giants of journalism, like a number of you here tonight, you inspire us to be relentless, accurate, questioning, challenging, the best we can be in telling other people's stories. We're often not comfortable being in the spotlight, but there's great public benefit in a spotlight falling on our stories and furthering their impact. And the spotlight has well and truly fallen on the stories from tonight's winner. Because this winner is responsible for cracking the story of the year. Now, as well as the bragging rights, the Gold Walkley comes with a prize of $10,000 worth of business class travel from Qantas, and a shiny gold trophy which will turn heads going through airport security. So joining me on stage to present the award is the chair of the Walkley Judging Board, Lenore Taylor. And the 2019 Gold Walkley goes to Anthony Dowsley and Patrick Carlyon.
What a night. I can't thank the Walkley Foundation enough. We didn't expect this, but it's been a huge year for Patrick and I, the Herald Sun, and everyone associated with the story. I just want to start off with a little quip that Lawyer X actually said herself to me, is that she said I was going to win a Walkley. And I said, not if it's not true. And she was pretty good with the mail, and she was right, I guess, in the end. It's been a long, hard road. It's been 5 years, but this is a high point for both of us. And when you dig into something and you get deeper and deeper, and it just kept going and going once we could finally tell the story, which was December last year. It's about networks, it's about police and lawyers and criminals and how they interacted. And it's a story about life and death. And the reason I thought the story was important from the start is not because we were able to unveil an informer. It was because there was a husband and wife, and their names were Terry and Christine Hodson, and they were killed. And it's a case that's unsolved, and it had to do with all of the players that are in this story, and one of them most likely knows what's happened. So what happened to them is that their justice was precluded by the very events that happened in turning this person into an informer in some ways, in some very tricky ways. It was about trust and loyalty and betrayal, and not just betrayal of clients and things like that, but the betrayal of the justice system in general. Lawyer X also became a story about the story in the end and how to tell it and whether we'd ever get to tell it. Bob Dylan, an artist I really like, said the pellets of poison are flooding our waters. And to describe, he's describing the distortion of media when he says this. And on the theme of tonight, suppression orders can distort the truth if you're not allowed to tell it. And so does raids on journalists. This yarn was about true grit, and I'd like to say that the editor of the Herald Sun, Damon Johnson, was exemplary in this. He showed real true grit to keep at this story and back it with his deputy editor, Chris Tinkler, and of course, Patrick Carlyon here, who has been with me writing these stories and spending enormous hours on it with me. Their prodigious talents are why we're here tonight as well. And they've brought it to life, and they've done it wonderfully. I'd like to shout out to the bloody sterling work of our lawyers, John Paul Cashin, Justin Quill and their team, and also to their guns for hire, Paul Holdenson, QC, and Marcus Hoyne, but many, many more. I'd like to say thank you to Peter Blunden. Your deep pockets paid those legal bills for those guys, and thanks for keeping the faith. Some special mentions to journos that collaborated on this, because it was a long story. Patrick Murphy, James Campbell, James Dowling and Genevieve Allison, who have all contributed. And to the journos who've led the way for me, I'd like to just mention that I've been working with someone for a long time in police rounds, and his name's Mark Butler. He's very much a quiet achiever in journalism, but he's showed me everything I know. And there's other journalists I'd like to mention that I've always looked up to, especially on the police rounds. Rule and Sylvester and Wilkinson and Moore and Mackenzie and Baker and people like this that really show us the way, and many others, of course, such as Adele Ferguson, and people who show you the way on how to break corruption. To my family, my mum's here. She's 82. I told her it was the Logies, so she came. If Sylvester's out there, if you can just pretend that you're Gary Sweet, that'd be great. And to my brother and my sister. My brother's here, but my sister's at home, and they've supported me, and also my dad, who he would be if he could be. My other friends, of course, I want to thank, and my partner, Siobhan, and I'll pass it over to Patrick.
What Anthony didn't say there is the fact that this story would still not be told unless he had gone and got it. And it goes back to a boozy pub back in 2013 with the police and a tip-off, which turned out to be wrong. And basically Anthony took that tip-off and, exploring that, went to great lengths and actually uncovered one of the great secret abuses of power, certainly in Victoria for a very long time. And he did that off his own bat. Now, I'm very lucky in that about 3 years ago he invited me to become part of this, and it's just been wonderful working together, just seeing the obsessive sort of way that you go about it is really been amazing to be a part of such an extraordinary story. This story would still not be told if not for Damon Johnston. He backed Anthony from the start. He's an inspiring sort of leader. He's got that gritty resolve, which Anthony said. And he gets things done, and he backed it all the way despite the enormous risks. And I'm very grateful to Damon. Peter Blunden, as Anthony mentioned, backed it from the start. He's been very wise in his counsel as this story's gone from being just a very good story to a juggernaut. So thank you, Peter, for all your very kind advice. Chris Tinkler, Anthony mentioned, he's probably had the hardest job because he's basically had to make us file stories each day, which is a bit like herding cats. At 4:30 each day, he'd sort of say, come on, let's go. And we'd get around to finally writing a story. So thank you, Chris, for all your patience and good humour. Just finally, to Susie and the family and the kids, they put up with a lot of nonsense because of this story this year. They've been very patient and very loving, and I owe them dearly. I love them very much. Thank you.